You can know when awareness is in focus more. And then you can know when you lost it. You may not know you've lost it while it's lost. It's gone completely out of focus. You have fallen asleep. But then when we come back to presence, we go, oh my gosh, where was I for the last 5 minutes? Where was I for the last 5 hours? Maybe where was I for the last 5 days? Then at that moment, that very moment, we used to say the moment you realize you have not been remembering yourself, you are remembering yourself. That's self-remembering. There's something realizes. And it's a little shock internally. It's like cold water on the face or someone poking you. A lot of times too, people have a moment of presence and they'll fall right back to sleep again because awareness doesn't know itself. When we come back to presence, and it's not that we come back to presence, it's just a way of saying that, but you know what I mean. Presence comes back, it emerges again. There's a conscious awareness again. It refocuses, it comes into focus again. What's interesting is this awareness, when it comes back into focus, sometimes it can quiet the mind, can quiet some of that traffic, but that is just an effect of this awareness coming into focus. That is not the awareness itself. Awareness knowing itself doesn't mean we'll always have a quiet mind. The traffic can still be there raging. You can know the moment you come back to awareness. Awareness comes back as itself, recognizing itself. And we're trying to realize ourselves as that dimension. We're trying to realize that dimension of ourselves. That's what self-remembering is. That's what being present is. That's what these moments when awareness comes back into focus, suddenly there's another dimension, conscious. You know, you can learn to recognize that you're starting to fall asleep. At first, we sort of are at a point of being asleep and trying to wake up more often, trying to come back. Then it can become being awake more often and not wanting to fall asleep, and learning to recognize when you're starting to fall asleep, become identified. And we can notice this in small things, like just hurrying. Right before the meeting, I was running a little late, getting ready to start. And I was trying to do a lot of different little things. And I could feel myself starting to rush because I didn't want to be late. And there was the recognition of the rushing starting. And immediately there was the sort of internally, no. Even if you're late, it's better to not be identified. It's better to be a minute or 2 or 3 late than to be identified and fall asleep, go more asleep. This recognition that we are more present and the recognition that we were not, have not been, is tremendous. It's the most important thing, actually, in our life. It's the most important thing. There's so many things going on in our life, financially, health-wise, family-wise, business-wise, economically. There are wars, there's an election, there's catastrophes. The most important thing, this recognition of our own presence. When we observe identification, often what we're seeing is the result of identification. The hurrying, the having a cause, the trying to set the record straight and tell people the right from wrong and this and that and all. Behind it is this other thing. It's this identification. And it is exactly what is behind us falling asleep. This awareness, a little switch, and then it starts to dim. And then as soon as it dims, the identification has begun. That's the moment identification begins. But see, we don't notice it as this slight shift, this slight dimming in us. The more it dims, the more identification grows. It literally takes form now as identification in our psychology and in our physiology. It is still awareness. It is awareness, though. You could say awareness is sort of, it's coming out of the faucet. Now it's going through the hose and it's spraying out as more and more and more identification. And so to feel that, this is the barometer. But it comes back to this very moment of realizing we were asleep the whole time and reaching and turning off the faucet. It's just been running freely. It's just been open and we've been identified. and to slow it down and shut it off, and then feel when it starts to come back open again. We run away with ourselves. Our identification gets the better of us. It drags us down again. It hauls us through. It's like it dragging us by our nose through our life. We usually don't see it, and now we're starting to see it and see it more often, and see we're a prisoner to it. We're stuck in our little identity, our realm of person. And this comes back to this barometer of presence. Do we know what that feels like? And this is just human psychology. It's not that interesting in the end. Imagine this awareness, this consciousness, free of human psychology.